This week on Two Noobs, looks like poor Sandra Bullock was lied to, and the whole blindside thing was just a scheme to thwart the NCAA. Then we revisit an old Two Noobs story that looks like it will have a happy ending because some politicians in Alberta done messed up. After that, tourists gone wild to remind us people are dumb. And finally, espionage at the Garden. Sweet. Start the music, Knickerbockers. I'm Jimmy Dean, and nothing gets your ass out of bed for a fat sausage quicker than an episode of Two Noobs.
Yeah.
And that's what we got for you here today, episode 152. How about that? And listen, we're almost getting back to school here, so in honor of that, over here I got gym class John Tracy. Over here, matriculating Matt Craig, and I in the middle, and honors science Steve Murray. Hopefully you guys, your children or whoever, going back to school has a warmer welcome than the Yale students who got letters from the police basically saying, you're going to die. So with that, Mr. Tracy, how are you doing today?
I'm 99% uploading, so I'm great.
That's positive.
That's a very good
right.
thing.
Yes,
there you go.
Yes. Please excuse me as I stare at this thing in anticipation.
Don't do what you were supposed. Yeah, exactly.
John, technical difficulties, Tracy. That's what we should be.
Yes.
Well, moving on from that, Mr. Matt, how are thee today, sir?
Humid, but luckily in very comfortable air conditioning in my apartment, so I am very happy with that. Otherwise, doing just fine, Mr. Murray. Doing great, and great to be with both of you, of course. How about that?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. No mugshots today.
No.
No.
I wouldn't want to give that kind of a look to my waiter or waitress. Honestly, I mean that's like the worst. I mean that's the worst face I think I've ever seen. All hunched over like that, and I don't know. I mean,
also 6'3" and 217 pounds. I'm not buying.
Yeah,
that.
that's a lie.
Yeah.
That's a lie. I'll say 6'3". That's fine, but yeah.
Yeah,
like 6'3", 240. That's my guess.
I saw something that said Lamar Jackson is 6'3", 215 or something like that.
Yeah.
Now that I would agree with.
There is a huge body type difference there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure why the police station would let you pick your own height and weight, but what have you.
Maybe it was a pick your weight choice, and someone wrote down 1, but probably it was really a 4, and they no you gotta scratch that out. It's really 1. Not maybe it was under pressure to I don't know, but who knows? Who cares?
But anyway, we are foregoing a fun fact today at Mr. Tracy's request, so I turn the floor over to him.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, sir. In light of the news yesterday of probably my favorite professional wrestler of all time passing away, I just wanted all day I've been tripping over myself, just like thinking about him as a performer and thinking about why I was so drawn to the character that he had. And it basically brought me back to wrestling back when my son in early 2014 was like, yo, check this character out. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I like that. Like, I'm going to follow that. That's cool. I like that. And
yeah,
what I came up with was the amount of things I found on YouTube yesterday of people that he has touched over the last 5 years blows my mind. And the creativity that he's drawn out of so many other professional wrestlers at the same time just makes me it made me smile today, even though we lost him. Like, damn, we were so lucky to have a performer like that. He brought out some of the creepiest things that you could ever think of. He brought out this beautiful heart that
Mhm.
he shared with all the performers around. That's why everybody wanted to work with him. All the producers wanted to work with him. Upper management gave him so much leeway, far more leeway than they give anybody at this time in wrestling.
Yeah.
And just to think just the last thing, just to think that he's finally at peace because we know so much from losing his best friend Brody
Mhm.
that maybe they get to just do it on another plane now, and that just makes me
Yeah.
smile. So I wanted to be sad about it today, but he's such a good performer and brought so much joy watching him that I just wanted to say something nice.
That's beautifully said, Johnny. Yeah, closet, of course, a fan of WWE, and I think what made Rotunda such a great wrestler was the ability to tell a story so well with his characters. I mean, you were right. It was weird and creepy and like, what the heck is he going? But that's essentially what he was as an artist, what he was doing. If you could get that kind of a reaction as a wrestler, that's a really good thing, in this
Mhm.
day and age, for sure. And so yeah, it was kind of like what he was doing was more of the bygone, it's really just the old school way of wrestling characters, I think. Just had that dynamic personality, and to be able to tell a story both in and outside of the ring. I think he was more of a genius, probably more on the outside of the ring than he was in, although I could be completely wrong, which is totally fine. But humbly just thinking, just from an outsider's perspective of that, I think his character work outside of the ring, heading into matches, was some of the best stories you'd ever see. I don't know.
Mhm.
What do you think? Yeah.
Oh, I think he made a lot of guys better than they were because of the storytelling. I
Hmm.
can I can think of a couple off the top of my head. John Cena thanked him for making him look good. In so many
Yeah.
words, making John Cena look good because Cena only has 5 moves, and he will always tell you that. But no, I think he was such a great character.
Yeah.
Um, but he could put in the ring work. I mean, some of the stuff
Hmm.
I'll just give you one moment that I thought was the best is when they were trying to push Roman Reigns and they couldn't figure out how to get the crowd to go against him or for him. Like everybody, if like
Hmm.
if they wanted him to cheer, the fans would boo. And then
Hmm.
if they wanted him to boo him, the fans would cheer Roman. And WWE was getting so frustrated. They finally brought Bray Wyatt in for a couple months, and he did the everybody or anybody but you, Roman. And Bray would say it all the time to Roman, anybody but you, making
You.
fun of
Yeah.
the fans. And he would get a total pop from the fans by saying that when he was just making fun of them. It was just unique, and he could get
Yeah.
anything over. I guess that's the
Yeah.
nicest thing I could say about him. He could literally get anything over.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well said. And going from nice things to say to bad things to say,
Yes.
we have kind of a collective over 40 rant today. We decided,
But
spurred on by the shall we say pointless Republican primary debate that occurred
Pointless is
earlier
good.
this
Yeah,
week.
pointless is good.
Pointless is really good. Yeah.
right on, right on point, right there.
I was almost going to anticipate Steve saying debate, that took place. I said, what? That was a debate? Really? But
I think
Pointless was
that's
brilliant.
Yeah, I think that's the point. It wasn't a debate. It was
Yes.
No.
how should I say this? Zingers.
Yeah.
Let's get out the zingers.
Zingers.
And the crowd egging him on and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What a freaking circus, and
Yeah.
how our political landscape has devolved to this
Yeah.
is just so frustrating. And I know you guys had some ideas
Yeah.
how to better change kind of the debate format. So Matt, I'll go to you first because you had what I thought was a really good idea.
Yeah.
As an alternative to the nonsense that none of us saw, by the way. We didn't watch it. We just
No.
Yes.
secondhand because, again, it was pointless. I had better things to do with my time.
Everything.
My toenails were getting a little long.
Probably a little bit more interesting to watch too.
Yeah.
You know, in that kind of regard.
Much more.
But yeah, I think probably the biggest, I guess you could say, takeaway of that whole thing and how pointless it has become is, Steve, you had it right on the money. It was all about the zingers, all about the sound bites, 2-3 minutes. Essentially, this is what I've done, and I'm going to bash the person that's 2 seats over to my left for just being 2 seats over to my left because he's more of a leftist than I am. You know, that kind of a deal. And
he's on the left most of the stage. Did you notice that, people? Yeah.
Look over there. Look over there. That kind of a deal. I think the problem that we have is just the fact that we have so many people looking for the soundbite, the gotcha in our politics, that we don't know how to fully debate a particular policy or a foreign affair situation, or what would we do with finances of the tax. It's gotten worse and worse and worse as the years have gone by. And I think having more than 8 people up on a stage or 8 or more people on a stage is absolutely ridiculous. And so I proposed in pre-production and show it now on the podcast, is that I think what we got to have is, if you are running for Congress, like if you're in one of the major political parties or a third party, whatever, if you get on a podcast, have an interview for an hour. I don't care who it is with. Joe Rogan, whatever the case may be. If you have that money to go up there and get booked by him, fine. But go on a podcast and talk for an hour and have the interviewer ask you basic questions on what you would want to do to propose for the country. Why you think you would be a good leader for the country? What kind of policies would you put in place? How would you get people that disagree with you to come along and agree with you? How would you also listen to their opinions respectfully, and things along those lines? And how would you be able to try and implement some of their ideas into your policies? I think that would be a much better way to handle it, as opposed to having the large stage, 10 people, 12 people talking over each other. You don't know who or what is saying what. And so you're left there going like, yeah, I think that guy did okay because he zinged Trump really well. Or, yeah, I think Trump did really well because he zinged that guy over there, even though I don't know what he talked about. Like, come on, let's get a one-on-one interview.
John, anything to add? I've got a couple changes to that proposal, but I'll let John go first.
I agree with Matt for the most part that you need to have a long form sit down. I don't think you should be able to submit your own questions. I think you should get
hell no.
Yeah, I agree.
A classy interviewer, whoever that may be. I don't know if we even have them anymore, but get one of them.
No.
And they could sit down and come up with their questions for the hour long. I'm totally fine with that. You got to get rid of the dog and pony show. There's no reason for that many people. Irrelevant. By the way, just side note, Chris Christie, shut up. Thank you. Moving on. So next thing, it just had to be said.
Well, of course.
You can't put that many bumbling narcissistic idiots on a stage and bait them into that. They look like fools. And if you watch that debate and actually think that any of those people could lead the country, you're a fool too. Because none of those fools can lead the country. They are all bumbling idiots, and it shows.
Yeah.
And I think that goes hand in hand with some of the things I would say to Matt's idea. One is, I would say I wouldn't pick an interviewer, or the way I would pick the interviewer is someone who is not going to ask softball questions.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Who is going to ask you, all right, what's your policy? What's your stance on X? Mm-hmm. And then when you get the answer, if they don't give you a straight answer, if they start talking about somebody else, you say, no, I want your answer.
Your answer.
And then once they give the answer, I want why.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then I want to ask, well, why doesn't this alternative work? And I want to see if these people can explain the rationale behind their policies, because I guarantee you 95% of these morons can't do it.
No.
Because they take a stand just because they think it's what people want to hear.
Mhm.
And that's another thing with these interviews, no crowds.
I agree.
The crowds are completely stupid and not necessary for something like
No
this.
studio audience, no town hall meetings. I'm eliminating all that. The town hall has really become a joke at this point.
Absolutely.
When you
Yes,
come into
absolutely.
a presidential debate where they sit around, they're walking around with microphones in their hands. No. Just tell me what your policies are going to be. Flat out and simple. Don't make it more complicated.
I'll give out an invitation right now. If any presidential candidate wants to come on Two Noobs and get interviewed,
there you go.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
It's free. We don't charge you nothing to come on our podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Have the balls to do it. You got
Good
three
luck
guys
to you.
and you got nothing else going on. Why not? Love it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And, it's not just the Republicans, by the way. The Democratic debate is probably going to be, I picture Joe Biden now like that guy from the old Six Flags commercials, the bald. Except he was more limber and could dance.
Yes.
I was just going to say, wait a minute.
It's just how old he looks.
Sure. Yeah.
It's not going to be any better when the Democrats get up on stage.
Yeah.
This
applies to
it's
both
a shit
parties.
Show.
This applies to both parties, no question about it. And I just think we just need to get back to, if people can listen to an hour-long podcast, they can sit to an hour-long person that wants to be president of the United States. Okay, here are my questions for you. What do you have to say about it? That kind of a deal. I would want that rather than have what we saw on Wednesday night. Well, fortunately, none of us saw it on this podcast.
Yeah.
None of the hosts did, thank God.
Toenail's doing great, guys.
There you go.
Speaking of things that none of us saw, well, I know I didn't see, but topic one, that's a good question. Have either of you guys seen the Blind Side movie?
I have, yes. I have.
There you go.
Well, there goes my whole transition out the window.
No, I'm sorry. It was many years ago, and I don't remember anything except it was a story about Michael Oher, so that's all I got.
There you go.
So Yahoo Sports article, Michael Oher, conservatorship, unlike any legal experts have seen before. This story just gets more and more bizarre.
Yeah.
And it started when Michael Oher apparently realized 20 years later, wait, I wasn't adopted? What the hell?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's a little bizarre to find out in your late 30s, I guess he would be now.
Yeah.
Yeah, late 30s, early 40s.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Well, nearly 20 years ago, a Tennessee judge appointed Sean and Leanne Tuohy to make decisions on Oher's behalf, despite finding that the 18-year-old had no known physical or psychological disabilities. That decision appears to contradict a Tennessee law enacted to ensure that conservatorships are imposed only on people incapable of caring for themselves. Judge Robert Benham noted in his conservatorship order that it was the desire of both Oher and his birth mother that the Tuohys become his conservators, and that fulfilling that wish was in Oher's best interest. It sounds like the court is saying this is some sort of voluntary conservatorship where Oher just gave up his legal rights to someone else. Molly Korn, a Chattanooga attorney. Hey, Chattanooga.
Hey, there you go.
Who specializes in conservatorships, told Yahoo Sports, I've never heard of that before. That's not in the law.
Wow.
In 2004, the judge appointed the Tuohys conservators of the person, which typically provides the legal authority to make health care and housing decisions for incapacitated individuals in need. But in this case, the judge also granted power of attorney to the Tuohys and declared that Oher would not be allowed to enter into any contracts without the direct approval of the wealthy Memphis couple.
Wow.
In a court filing earlier in the week, Oher alleged that the Tuohys flagrantly disregarded their statutory and fiduciary duties by not filing a single accounting of his funds in the 19 years he has been under conservatorship. Of particular interest to Oher is the movie rights deal that the Tuohys negotiated more than 15 years ago with 20th Century Fox. John, I'll go to you first. This is getting so bizarre. What do you make of this?
Okay, so we kind of people kind of understand the conservatorship thing because crazy ass Brittany went through it, and we kind of got to run down on what that is for, right? So
we
don't have
understand
to-
what legally incapable of making decisions
yes,
look
we
like.
can totally
right?
get the nuts and bolts of what we're trying to
So,
talk about.
oops, I did it again was, definitely applicable in this case,
This
I guess.
is-
I don't know.
This is friggin' bizarre. This dude has full capacity, all American, drafted high in the NFL, has negotiated all his contracts, lives on his own, has a family, has done all this, and these people have some kind of like rights over him. It's bizarre.
It is really a weird story for sure. Yeah.
It is really weird.
I can't, for the life of me, I don't understand what the reason for doing it that way was.
Yeah.
The article
was it to get him not to play for the Tennessee Volunteers? Was that literally the play? Like the wealthy Memphis couple's like, no, Peyton can't get a left tackle. Like,
well, so I'll continue with the article here, which does give some insight. Yeah. Among the reasons why the terms of Oher's conservatorship are confusing is that the Tuohys had an unusual purpose for pursuing it. They didn't petition to protect someone who was disabled in need of assistance. They sought one to help ensure Oher had the option to play football at Ole Miss without risking potential NCAA eligibility issues.
Wow.
By NCAA rules, the Tuohys would have been regarded as Ole Miss boosters because of their significant donations to their alma mater.
Wow.
That booster classification became a potential problem for the Tuohys when they opened their doors to Oher, and the once homeless team blossomed into one of the nation's top offensive line prospects while living under their roof.
Yeah.
The NCAA forbids boosters from even contacting prospects, let alone providing food, clothes, shelter, and the groundwork for a new life. One of the attorneys that was interviewed is mystified that the Tuohys didn't seek an adult adoption, which is legal in the state of Tennessee and would have satisfied the NCAA. And another wonders why Oher didn't just temporarily transfer power of attorney to the Tuohys. Yet another argues the Tuohys opened themselves up to potential legal issues, not dissolving this sham conservatorship once Oher got to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me, as John speculated, this is totally to get over NCAA rules and regulations. Matt, who's at fault here?
Oh, I think it's a combination of the Tuohys and the NCAA and their rules. I think no question. The Tuohys can. It seems to me, based on this article, the Tuohys they're boosters, and they found out when Oher went to Ole Miss and how good he was playing football. Oh crap, we've got a problem here. We have a major issue. And I guess it's probably more of the bizarre story. Why didn't they just pursue an adoption? That's the thing that gets me. I'm sitting there and I don't get it. I mean, it's not like maybe the only possible justification I could think of why the Tuohys didn't pursue adoption and then they went with conservatorship was maybe they saw something in the NCAA bylaws that disagreed with like having an adoption. I don't know, or maybe they misread what a conservatorship is.
I mean, the one attorney here said it would have been legal under the NCAA.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it totally would have been legal. Yeah.
And that's where it's confusing. Like, why did they go down that particular road unless they thought, I mean, I don't know. It's really bizarre. It's probably one of the weirdest stories I think we've ever come across, guys, in the history of this podcast.
Oher was under the impression this whole time that he had been adopted, and only just earlier this year figured out, hey, I wasn't actually adopted.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they adopted him when he was 2 and he wouldn't understand.
Yeah, exactly.
He was a teenager when this happened. You'd think he would know, hey, they're not using the term adoption, it's conservatorship. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's like you're kind of, well, wait a minute. I'm not like physically, like I'm not, physically disabled. Like I'm playing football for Ole Miss, for crying out loud, a left tackle. And so that's out. And I'm certainly not mentally challenged or anything of that sort. So that's out. So why am I being classified under conservatorship? Very strange. Very weird.
Well, so I'll pose this question to John because I know he hates football organizations.
I love football. I hate football organizations.
Exactly. I'm looking at this, and the NCAA here, I think, is a really big part of this problem.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Let's just assume, for the sake of argument, that the Tuohys adopted or 100% out of the goodness of their hearts.
Yeah.
Which we don't
believe at all, but yes. Okay, so they did.
I don't know the real reasons that they did this, but they brought him into their home. He was homeless. Whether it was because they are 100% just good, loving people, or they saw some financial gain out of this. Let's assume, for the sake of argument, they did this completely out of the goodness of their heart.
Yes.
And he wants to go to Ole Miss for college. Why shouldn't he be able to do that while getting help from people who have opened their doors to him as a homeless teenager?
Yeah.
Why does the NCAA have to trample on something like this and make them have to go through hoops just so he can go to college and do what he's good at? The NCAA here smells like shit.
I can give you a straight answer on why the NCAA has to be like this. Because you have people like Bobby Bowden, and you have people like Lou Holtz, and you have these coaches that will bend, break. They'll pull trees down to just get that one talent over to their squad, to get that extra championship on their mantle. The NCAA is scummy because it's made up of all those people. But the NCAA has almost become the laughingstock because they've had to fight corruption for so long. They've become corrupt.
Exactly.
It all smells like shit because it literally is what happened. Just randomly homeless guy, 6'3", 340-pound, great left tackle in high schools, walking down the street homeless. Oh, I'm a booster for Ole Miss. Let's take you in, but we can't adopt you because the NCAA said that would be wrong. So we'll trick your mom into a conservatorship. Oh shit, we can adopt you? Oh, but 20th Century Fox wants to put a movie out. Well, fuck adopting you. Like, that's what it sounds like.
Well, you've seen the movie. What did they say in the movie? Did they say he was adopted?
Nothing.
Did they say we've adopted you?
No, it was, well, yes, it was implied. Sandra Bullock implied it, and she's a liar anyway, so we saw Speed.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, but Johnny, you hit the nail right on the head. Really, I think I was watching a video on Reggie Bush, and he got stripped of his Heisman Trophy because all the accusations of him getting boosted, his family getting a home in Southern California, and how could that, and the NCAA. Yeah, and the whole thing was essentially what happened. This went all the way up to the Supreme Court. Eventually, got all the way up to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court, in a unanimous decision, 9-0, essentially said NCAA can't be doing what they're doing. Essentially.
Right.
And so they've had to backtrack, and that's where the whole names, image, and likeness, the NIL stuff, started popping up all over the place. And now Reggie is trying to get his Heisman Trophy back because of what the Supreme Court has done. The NCAA is a fraud organization. Let's just face it. They're a fraud.
Oh, absolutely.
100%. And I mean, it's great to see like stories like this, even though it's so utterly bizarre. It just speaks to the corruption that's been going on in the major colleges and universities when it comes to their football programs. Because, John, you're right. The head coaches of these football programs, your Pete Carrolls, I'll even throw a Lane Kiffin in there, or like your Jim Harbaughs, they'll stop at nothing to get to the national championship. Yeah, anybody. But it's like they'll stop at nothing to get the best recruits onto their football team to win a national title. Period. Because that brings in a ton of money to a university.
Yep.
In that regard. So as long as they can sell, and if they have to sell grandma down the river to get that prize left tackle, they're going to do it. And the NCAA, though, seeing this, is so corrupt. They twist themselves in knots all over the place. And here you go. Now you got a name in image like this. Yeah.
I think we talked about that Supreme Court decision. They were absolutely
Mm-hmm.
right. These kids should be allowed to make money off their own names.
No question.
Yes.
Yes. The NCAA should have no right to prevent them from making a living. You know, it's their talent that's getting them out there and getting exposure. The NCAA is benefiting off of that.
Yes.
There is no reason they should foreclose. And so, yes, I understand Bobby Bowden and all those guys are bending over backwards, but like you said, John, this is such a unique situation. The guy was homeless. You know, how many of these top star recruits come from that background?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm
Like,
saying. I think this is why they did what they did, because it's such a unique. It's like, oh, well, we could actually bend the rules with it not bending the rules, because this kid needs help in direction.
Yeah.
But them not finalizing anything is what makes them look a little scummy.
Well, they should have gotten rid of it.
Yeah.
You know, once it was no longer necessary, when he graduated college or whatever.
Yeah.
What would be his, I guess his brother, but not his brother because he was never adopted, but
his conservative brother.
the oldest born kid in that family was quoted on ESPN last week saying that none of this shocked him at all. He's like, I still have normal text conversations with him. Like, we grew up together. Like, we have a relationship. They knew this was weird. The whole family knew this was weird, so...
I'm Jimmy Dean, and nothing like watching the sun rise with your conservators.
Oh my.
That was totally uncalled for, Matt. I don't know what the...
I don't know.
There was nothing sexual about that.
This
You're
thing's
banned from Two Noobs.
This thing's off the rails already.
Hey, look at that MLB standings board. Take a look at that New York basement there. You got the Yankees and the Mets at last place. When's the last time that happened? Anyway, moving on.
God, yeah. Moving on. Topic 2. This is a revisit for something that was a Two Noobs topic of conversation well before I joined the program.
There you go.
So we're going to the Edmonton Journal here. Alberta Crown prosecutors no longer pursuing pandemic public health charges. The Alberta Crown prosecutors will no longer pursue pandemic-related cases under the Public Health Act, or PAHA, citing the unlikelihood of conviction following a recent ruling that found that public health orders were authorized by the wrong individual. August 1st ruling from a Calgary case cited as Ingram v. Alberta found that some public health orders and restrictions were invalid because politicians gave the final approval instead of the then Chief Medical Officer of Health, or CMO, Dr. Dina Hinshaw, as legally required by the Act. The Alberta Crown Prosecution Service has reviewed the decision in Ingram and has concluded there is no longer a reasonable likelihood of conviction in relation to the Public Health Act charges involving the contravention of the disputed orders from the Chief Medical Officer of Health. To date, 745 pandemic-related cases have been prosecuted under the Public Health Act, according to ACPS, with a majority of those cases being stayed or withdrawn and only 176 resulting in convictions. There are 14 such cases remaining before the courts, including those of No More Lockdowns rodeo organizer Ty Northcott.
There you go.
Whistle Stop Cafe owner Christopher Scott, and Edmonton area pastor James Coates, who was the subject of the earlier Too Noobs.
Yep.
The prosecutor in his case confirmed to Post Media that she will ask the court for an acquittal. Matt, happy ending, I guess, right?
Big time happy ending for sure. I first heard of this actually through Erin Coates, who's the wife of James, and I follow her on Instagram. She was the one that first shared the story, but she shared a screenshot of an article similar to this on the Epic Journal, which we found out later was not really right wing. Well, I found out later was not really right wing. More on that, I guess.
Way to go, John.
Anyway.
Sorry.
John, thanks for the correction. But she shared a screenshot, and I asked,
John, why do you read?
I asked Erin, I said, can you forward a link to me? And she's like, well, unfortunately, because I live in Canada, I can't. Social media companies have worked with our Canadian government that essentially basically says that we can't share links of news articles.
Zuckerberg.
Which was like, wow, that's unbelievable to me. That might be part 2 of this conversation. So we had to end up going back, and that's where Steve found this Edmonton Journal piece, which was, I think it's a terrific write-up of what is actually going on. But yes, it is a tremendous step forward in the right direction. Whether or not Alberta is, it's a definite CYA in regards to this. But clearly, I think what was going on up there, was a bumbling of basic raw data that was happening in the province of Alberta when it came to COVID back then. And this pastor ended up getting jailed and serving 35 days in a maximum security prison for holding church services. And so it was the reason, and I could go on about that a little bit later on. I'll give Johnny the floor at that point. But yeah, it's a great step forward in the right direction for sure.
Well, before we continue with the article, I want to ask John about the social media thing with China up there.
Yes.
Yeah. This
blame Canada. I keep telling you.
Yeah, this does not sound very free speechish, if you ask me. Not that Canada was known for it, but they're really going state media, it sounds like, up there, huh?
Yeah. Baby Castro up there is doing a hell of a job. Really keeping his people in line there. It's not shocking at all, because they from what I remember of this story, he tried to follow every precaution to circumvent the lockdown, and they just were not having it. They did not want you within. It wasn't 6 feet up there. It was, you can't even talk to anybody. Like that kind of shutdown is what they were doing in 2020. I love, by the way, that rodeo organizer, Ty Northcutt. Great rodeo name. Great.
That's fantastic.
I'm all about, when bullshit happens, I'm all about calling out bullshit all the time. It's great. No more lockdowns, rodeo. Yep. You have my full support.
There you go. There you go.
Don't let them forget what they did with toilet paper.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, all right. So continuing with the article, the Ingram case began in late 2020 and involved claims from 3 individuals and 2 churches who together challenged the constitutional validity of public health measures imposed during the early months of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. In the Ingram ruling, Calgary Court of King's Bench Justice, you gotta love the Queen's English up there.
Yeah.
Here it's just judge or justice or whatever, Your Honor. Up there, Calgary Court of King's title like that. Bench Justice Barbara Romaine found that the Public Health Act requires such health orders to be implemented by public health officials, not politicians, with her ruling stating that although Hinshaw was maligned during the pandemic and afterwards as the symbol of the restrictions, she was not, in fact, the final decision maker. The final decisions implemented by the impugned orders in this case were made by the Cabinet of the Government of Alberta or by committees of Cabinet. While the CMOA made recommendations and implemented the decisions of the Cabinet and committees through the impugned orders, she deferred the final decision-making to Cabinet.
Yeah.
Romaine found government officials incorrectly interpreted the Public Health Act as giving final decision-making authority to elected officials and not Hinshaw. The delegation of her final decision-making authority to Cabinet is not permitted by Section 29 of the Public Health Act. So I guess the unfortunate thing here is that James Coates and No More Lockdown Rodeo organizers are getting off because the public officials done effed up rather than finding that the orders were actually unconstitutional.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I guess I could just say it just from since he's a pastor, and I'm pretty well involved, as you guys know, in church. I'm actually going to be with hopefully in May be nominated to be a deacon officer in the church I currently go to. So I have some stake in what's going on here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
In regards to this, you know, a lot has been made of Coates. Why would he continue to hold services like this? And I think the rationale was twofold. One was he was looking at the data, public data that was perfectly available by Edmonton.
I remember
and the province up
it.
there. Yeah. And the percentages were extremely low, not nearly as fatal. As we all know that this virus is, it's not nearly as fatal as once was thought it was going to be. That being said, he took a look at that and said, well, my obligation is to shepherd the people of my church. I'm going to hold church services, and I cannot neglect what is written in scripture. We always lambaste Christians that don't follow the word, don't follow the Bible. He's following the Bible. He's following it letter by letter, sentence by sentence. He is commanded to in scripture to hold services. So he's doing what he's supposed to do, ministering to people that are really hurting during a time when it was really, really bad. People do have free will, though. They could come and go. They don't have to go to church all the time. These people, though, wanted to come. They wanted to come. They wanted to hear him talk, all that kind of stuff. Instead, what happens? The state throws them in jail for 35 days. Now, there's real persecution going on, far worse than what Coates had to go through. No question about it. But this is an example of the state going above its stated realm. I'll put it in that regard. They have a responsibility to protect their people, no question. But when they go above certain things, when they go above what the church is commanded to do, that's where this tension between the church and the state happens. And really, that's where we can really thank the founders here, guys, in the United States, where Thomas Jefferson was really concerned about a separation of church and state. The reason why that phrase is used all the time is because the church shouldn't influence the state, and likewise, the state shouldn't influence the church. And so that's where we should be thankful as Americans that we have that kind of basic in the bloodline, in all of our writings of the Articles of Confederation and all that kind of stuff, and it's in the lifeblood of the Constitution and all that kind of stuff. In Canada, it's not the case, and you saw the difference in that regard. So I hope that gives a little bit more insight. I know that's a little long-winded, but it's kind of like where I was coming from. I'm really happy he's out. I'm really happy he is not going to be, there's not going to be additional charges or things along those lines. Very happy for this, no question.
John, last word.
Yeah, Canada's stupid. No, just the thing that bothered
the government is
yes,
the government.
yes, not the people of. I like you Canadian people. Your government's dumb. The one thing that sticks out, I'm so glad that he that there's no more charges for anybody who tried to live their life during this ridiculous time. But the thing that stands out with the Coates story is crazy because the numbers were low. He was taking all the precautions. I remember Matt bringing this story to us before. He was doing everything he possibly could to do it as safe as possible, and that government treated him like he was kidnapping people, dragging them to church and making them listen to him. Like, that's how they were acting. That's literally how they were acting back then.
He was delivering the sermon by coughing it in their faces.
He's like driving around in his pickup truck, just grabbing people, throwing them in the back. Like, you're coming to church with me.
Yeah, exactly. One other thing I will mention this too. Pennsylvania did get it right in the fact that, and I will say Wolf didn't do a lot of things right when he was governor, but he did do one thing right when he said he recommended that people would get together. Now, the restrictions were a different story, but the language you heard out of the Pennsylvania state was, we recommend these amount. It wasn't, you can only restrict to 10 to 15 to 20 people. It wasn't like that or anything along those lines. So they did get that portion.
And I agree with you. I think that is the way that it should have been done, is these are the recommendations that we are making to you. You should not be within a closed thing with more than X number of people.
Yeah.
And like that. But to restrict it the way China did, was ridiculous.
Kind of scary when it's like up north there. It's like you got a communist state up there. That's not good. You know?
Well, remember that weather balloon did come in from over that border.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm Jimmy Dean, and
This is Groundhog's Day.
Wait, what?
Nothing beats scrambling eggs with Tony Fauci and a weather balloon coming out of Canada.
Is that Bidenomics?
I'm not doing no lie after that. I wish I had a boo thing over here on the media board. That would be hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Well, I just bring up the weirdness because topic 3, weird file. This is speaking of follow-ups. This is sort of a follow-up to where we did an episode last summer about some moron who got too close to, was it a bison?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah.
I believe so.
It was a bison.
Yeah.
Was that good old episode
and
97?
apparently tourists. Wow, that's specific knowledge.
If that's,
I don't know.
if that's right, I'll look that up in
I
post.
think-
Yeah, for sure.
It's my favorite overlay I've ever done
There you
go.
on the.
Did it have a bison in it?
No, no,
Is that
no,
what?
not even close.
Oh. Well, how you would remember it was episode 97 is beyond me. But anyway.
I do this for a living.
Apparently, tourists have not learned their lessons. Yeah. Tourists haven't learned their lessons. Insider article, photos show how wildly out of control tourists are this summer.
Oh.
Summer 2023 is turning out to be one of the wildest for tourists on record. Tourists have repeatedly found themselves in the headlines for brazen behavior over the past few months. And yes, it does include people getting too close to bison. There are other tales in here about people deciding it's 150,000 degrees out. I'm going to go hang out outside because it's the fun thing to do.
Yeah.
But some of the weirder stories here, I'll start with this one first. On an annual basis, the Colosseum in Rome attracts over 6 million visitors. In recent months, some of these visitors have thought it was a good idea to leave their marks on the ancient Roman monument that has stood for roughly 2,000 years. As the Italian news agency ANSA reported, vandalism on the Colosseum can result in $16,000 in fines and 5 years in prison. The first to make headlines was a 27-year-old fitness instructor living in Bristol, England, who was seen in a YouTube video. Oh, he filmed himself. Oh,
Idiot.
genius.
Oh my gosh.
In a YouTube video using a key to carve Ivan plus Haley 23 into the walls of the structure.
Oh my gosh.
After he was identified, Ivan Dimitrov wrote an apology letter to Rome's mayor and the prosecutor's office saying he was not aware of the Colosseum's age. Because just how old it is makes it, all the difference.
Yeah.
Similar instances have cropped up since, including one where a Swiss teenager was filmed carving her initial into the Colosseum by a tour guide who later said the girl's parents told him, she's just a little girl. Teenager, just a little girl.
We just need to put it on here for posterity's sake.
John, as the monument defiler of the group.
Because I'm out there defiling stuff.
You took a whiz on the Alamo. That's documented. Well documented.
Oh my gosh.
I've never been to the Alamo.
How can people really be this stupid?
Because they're people. Okay, so let's go back prior to 2020. Matt would know this because we were talking right about that time, before Two Noobs got figured out, and we were in total agreement that people are stupid. Now imagine if you lock them down for 2 years and then you release them out into the wild again. This is what happens. I was from one of our Instagram lives, by the way. I did look that back up.
I was. Yeah.
This is what it.
That's
Yes, this is what happens. And the internet, because we're finding more stupid people, because the internet finds stupid people. Look, Logan Paul's famous. He's an idiot.
All the time. Yeah.
He's got a camera. He does dumb shit. He got famous. So
Yep. What are we doing wrong?
The thing,
I don't know.
Guys, it's not getting any views.
I'm not pissing on the Coliseum. I'm just telling you.
Yeah. Well, good.
Hell no.
I might if Zuckerberg and Elon Musk fight in it. Because I think we all should piss on it when that is happening. I think that's the direct response to that fight in the Coliseum is the entire world pisses on the Coliseum.
Yeah.
Yes.
In response to that. Yeah. Johnny, though, your point is spot on the money. And I think this all has to go back to the pandemic and locking everybody down and people losing the ability to socialize well. And, that kind of stuff. It's like, man alive, this gigantic reset button has just been a disaster with tourism. And yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's just
the internet's not helping. I mean, the fact that everybody has a cell phone in their hand at all times, and they can't put it down to do a task like pay for a pack of cigarettes at a convenience store because they're too busy going, "What you say? I can't hear you. The connection's bad." Like, can you do just?
It's like, really?
Just do one thing, bro. Like, I understand that you need to have a web chat with 47 of your friends on Instagram at 10 o'clock in the morning, but can you buy your cancerous tumor stick and get the hell out of my way?
Oh my god!
It's not like this fitness instructor, 27 years old. Okay, he's not a teenager, even though he's acting like one by carving initials.
He's got his driver's license, and shit.
But he's also not carving them. Yeah, he's got a driver's license. He's not carving his initials into a tree.
Yeah,
or something that normal people would do.
Yeah.
No, he's got to do it on a 2,000-year-old historical landmark.
Yeah.
That apparently, if he had known how old it was, he wouldn't have done it. Because that makes it. If it was only 100 years old, that would have made it fair game.
If it was built, it was built like 2 weeks ago. Okay, yeah, I could do that. No one's gonna want to see that.
It's just that is.
I don't get it. Oh my gosh.
And I don't know how I missed when I read the article the first time that he was caught because he was on YouTube.
Yeah, I know.
We gotta find that video. We have to find that.
Yeah. That's the stupidity of it all. Is not only did you do something dumbass, but your dumbass decided to record it and post it, so the evidence is now there.
Isn't the
how are people?
Isn't the point of television 100% is the outtakes hit the floor? It's like what we didn't learn from movies, we didn't learn from TV. Like, we haven't learned as a society with social media that when you make a mistake, maybe it should hit the cutting room floor. So if you're going to vandalize something, don't record it.
Yeah, one problem with that, though, Johnny, is the advent of the show America's Funniest Home Videos. That was the problem way back in the day. You know what I mean? Like, those videos they were utterly hilarious.
Okay if we compile and watch them all together at the same time. What I'm saying is you didn't learn to...
Agreed.
You didn't learn from any of this, any, like, the progression of humans. Like, you didn't learn...
Yeah.
People have done things on live TV that literally have ruined their lives, but now people run around with these TV recorders in their hands and do the same shit. Like, they never learned from it.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And there goes Matt blaming the late great Bob Saget for it all.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that's exactly fair. He's not here.
It's a low blow, but he wasn't that good of a comedian anyway. Ooh, no.
Oh, if you just know him from Full House, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Well, so now we'll go to the oblivious people.
Oh boy.
So everybody knows there were wildfires in Maui recently.
Yeah.
And in the historic town of Lahaina, once home to about 12,000 people, the fires there, fueled by winds from Hurricane Dora, swept across the town, leveling most homes and businesses. Officials have confirmed the death toll from the natural disaster to be over 100, with possibly thousands more still missing, according to NBC reports. In the aftermath, as locals struggled to reckon with the record-setting wildfires, some said recovery has been made more painful by tourists visiting the island on vacation. So in one example, while hotel staff in Wailea, a high-end area of Maui that was not hit by fires, told the BBC many of their guests were understanding about the wildfire devastation 30 miles west, they said others were less sympathetic. Brittany Pounder, nice name, and we're going to use it because you're an idiot, a 34-year-old employee of the Four Seasons, the luxury resort where the first season of The White Lotus was filmed.
So is that a millennial or Gen Z?
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me correct this.
Okay.
So Brittany Pounder is not the idiot here.
Okay.
Brittany Pounder is an employee at the hotel who was reporting on idiots. My apologies, Brittany.
Yeah, you're not an idiot.
There you go.
You're not an idiot. And we thank you for calling out the idiocy.
Yeah.
She told the outlet some tourists had complained about excursions like horseback riding and zip lining being canceled due to the wildfires.
Because
how dare they cancel my zip line because there's a fire going on?
Because I've got to videotape myself on YouTube while a fire's going on in the background. Don't you think that would be really cool?
Can't we just
on a zip line? Isn't that
can't we just turn the zip line into the fire and solve two things at once?
Yeah.
We could zip line those people right into
let's
it.
not cancel the zip
I
line.
paid like $200 for this a couple months ago just to get the reservation for this. Don't you see, John? That was the problem.
It's called an act of God.
Mm-hmm.
You'll probably get your money back. She also said that just a day after much of Lahaina's downtown was razed to the ground, a tourist from California, surprise, surprise, asked about making his dinner reservation at Lahaina Grill, a fine dining restaurant located in the heart of the historic downtown that had burned down.
Wow.
Way to pay attention, idiot.
Yeah. Nothing to say to that. I mean, that's just sheer idiocy right there. That's unbelievable.
I feel this word keeps coming back up again. The narcissism of people.
This society is
to think
suffering from it.
How dare you ruin my vacation?
Yeah.
Because
what do you mean there's a wildfire that's destroying everything?
Your suffering is ruining my vacation. How dare you not let me get my fine dining reservation because you managed to let your hotel burn to the ground.
Yeah. Didn't you have a fire code in place? Give me a break. Give me a break with that. Yeah, I completely agree with Steve. 100 on that.
I actually, going along with John's thinking, I now think we should round all these people up and let them get close to bison.
Yeah, I think that would be. We should organize that. I wonder if the no shutdown rodeo will help.
Well, I'm Jimmy Dean, and nothing beats carving your initials in the pyramids with my sausage fork.
I vote for this to continue. All in favor.
You know how hard it is to come up with this shit?
I bet. Yeah, it's got to be so difficult. Yeah, especially on the fly. Yeah.
Oh God. Okay.
So funny.
Well, this whole episode has just been a cluster F. And it continues with topic 4 with the New York Knicks gonna nick.
There you go. Yeah.
The New York Knicks sue their former employee, CNN article, by the way, sue their former employee and Toronto Raptors personnel over alleged stolen proprietary information. They stole the Knicks' secret finals winning formula that's been in a safe for 50 years that not even the Knicks have seen.
Yeah, they're not even using it.
Exactly.
How dare you take it?
The New York Knicks filed a lawsuit against the Toronto Raptors and their parent company, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, MILSE, among others, alleging that a former team employee stole proprietary information and shared it with his new team. According to the lawsuit, the Knicks allege that former employee Ike Chukwu Azotem, good luck with that,
Yep.
shared thousands of proprietary files with the Toronto Raptors to help the newly hired rookie head coach Darko Rajakovic exploit the Knicks' organizational structure and coaching methods. Because God knows the Knicks have been doing it right for years.
Yeah, why would you want to exploit them?
Some of the files allegedly included confidential information such as play frequency reports, a prep book for the 2022-23 season, which is useful now for 2023-24,
Yeah.
video scouting files, and materials and more, according to the Knicks in the complaint. The lawsuit alleges that Rajakovic and other Raptors personnel conspired with Azotam while he was still employed by the Knicks to act as a mole and funnel information to aid the rookie head coach, organize, plan, and structure the new coaching and video operations staff. After Azotam informed the Knicks he had received an offer of employment from the Raptors in July, he allegedly started to secretly forward the proprietary information from his team account to his personal Gmail account, and then sharing it with the Raptors personnel, according to the complaint. I think he could have found a better franchise to plug here than the Knicks, but how serious does this sound to you, Mr. Tracy?
Not that serious, because I think I could argue in court that why would the Toronto Raptors need anything from the Knicks ever? They've had way more success in the last 10 years.
They won a championship.
They won a title.
Yeah, I really don't think they need help from said weird employee that doesn't understand that everything is monitored from your whatever your stupid name is .knicks.com, and you're sending it to your personal Gmail. You don't think they know what you sent? Like
that's a little weird.
It sounds ridiculous. I think it happened. I think, and I think they're trying to. I think this lawsuit is trying to get out in front of new high. The Knicks don't want this ever to happen again, so they're going to make a big deal out of something that could have been handled inside, because they want to be known as our organization is tight. Like you can't just run in and do this. But this guy is ridiculous, because even the worst IT could follow him 100% from what it looks like he did. He's all forward. Gmail's got it. Like that's safe.
I think found under a two-factor authentication procedure. Yeah.
Oh, how shocking! I feel so safe
with that
Gmail.
We'll get to the number of files he transferred, which was actually a lot.
Yes.
But Matt, play frequency reports, does that sound proprietary to you? I mean, any average Joe with a NBA TV account can get play frequency and generate the report. I mean,
for sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, pick and roll. I mean, the Knicks pick and roll. I mean, how many times do you call that? That kind of deal. Or Knicks cross
5 times
every time,
all season, 5 times.
That might be the Sixers offense with Joel. That's a pick and roll all the time with them. But weak. They change. I mean, they change those playbooks all the time and during the season. So for the Knicks to try and sue another franchise like this, I don't see flying, to be perfectly honest, Steve. I mean, unless you think otherwise, but I don't see it. I don't see where this would go, just because an organization has to, in order to keep ahead of the competition, they update. I can't imagine they update their playbooks, update a terminology, especially when you have guys that are coming and going, and that kind of deal, get traded, get cut, all that kind of stuff. Everything has to be kept in house. Okay, now we got to redo. I can't imagine that does not happen. I just can't imagine that. It would be shocking to me if they just kept it like that and then just said, "Oh, how dare this former employee of ours share this report?" It's like, you do know you can change the playbook at any time, right? I mean, you do know that.
I don't see playbook mentioned here among the the files that were stolen.
Okay.
So I don't see that that's
That
an
would
issue.
be
It's-
that would be a crazy offense if he stole
Yeah.
their playbook.
It would. It
Yeah.
would.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have turnover between franchises.
Yeah.
Free agents, trades, coaching changes, scouting changes. You don't think people know a lot of the information already and aren't using it? I mean, for God's sake, you bring in guys in the NFL, you bring in players from other teams the week before you play them. So, because they know some of the playbook.
Yep.
Hey, what do they like to run? It's commonplace.
Yeah. Crazy.
I mean, this guy may have been a little over the top, as we're going to find out the rest of the article.
Oh
here.
yeah. Oh yeah.
The Knicks, by the way, alleged not only did the Raptors defendants know about what was going on, but that they actually directed Azotem to misuse his access to the Knicks' confidential files to create and then transfer to the Raptors defendants over 3,000 files.
Wow.
Consisting of film information and data.
Wow. That's a
The
breach.
Knicks-
Yeah.
Yeah. The Knicks reveal in the suit that the team's insider threat security team identified the theft on August 15th, one day after Azotem's last day with the team, with records show that the stolen files were accessed over 2,000 times by the Raptors defendants.
Wow.
Among the damages, the Knicks are seeking that the Raptors personnel refrain from engaging in further acts of misappropriation of any of the Knicks' proprietary information, judgment that the Raptors and Azotem's violations and breaches were willful and malicious, and for the former Knicks employee to have no benefit as a result of the misappropriation and wrongful acts. I don't know what any of that means. I didn't hear money.
Extra words.
Certainly
It's just
didn't hear
extra
anything
words to
about
make it
patent
sound more
law.
serious.
No patent law language, I don't think.
No. I mean, guys, the thing about a trade secret is, if you follow Dr. IP,
There you go.
it's got to be something that people can't like reverse engineer and figure out on their own.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, like the play frequency reports, again, if I could figure that out on my own,
You're going to
from
figure it out.
video, I'm going to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And what secrecy is the 2022-23 prep book? I'm sure you have a whole new prep book for 2023-2024.
100%. Yeah.
And
I just don't.
it's not helping a new coach because a new coach is going to have his own ideas and his own practice habits, and it's not gonna. What are you just gonna mimic everything that the Knicks did? He didn't get enough information for them to do that. Like, he only got like little bits of information.
I would think if you're a coach, you wouldn't want that information, to be perfectly honest. I would want, to your point, Johnny, you're just implementing your own, your own thoughts, your own, plays into the system. I don't know. Bizarre. But I mean, I can't believe that. That's unbelievable. That to me just sounds like there is a lack of almost institutional control over that. Like, it makes me wonder, like at the Knicks, like what's going on with their security policy? That's my question.
Yeah.
I'd like to see. I haven't read the complaint, but I'd like to see what was the contract he signed.
Yes.
Was he aware? Did any of this information get stamped confidential or secret or whatever before he sent it off?
Yes.
I mean, it's a lot of files. Unless you are an unscrupulous character, which maybe he is, maybe he isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you know that it's secret, I'm not sure he knew he was doing something wrong.
Yeah.
It's very true.
Very true too. Yeah.
I'm sorry, John. What you were going to say something?
I thought when I first read the beginning of the article, I thought they were getting into that he stole like some kind of secret, some kind of program, something that was made up by the Knicks, that the Knicks had that nobody else had. That's what I first thought. But then when reading the article, realized that he was just kind of cherry picking certain things that didn't really seem that important.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think he knew he was doing anything wrong.
Again, unless he's a bad seed.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to me like he would have thought he was doing something.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But like to Matt's point, I think the Knicks may share some blame ultimately when all the facts come out.
Oh yeah.
I would like to know what's going on there that allowed this to happen.
Yes. And immediately, if you're the Knicks, you tighten up anything you can, document wise, security wise. And I'm dead serious on that. You have to do it. If anything that's taught us, and again, I think to your point too, Steve, when it comes to patent law and trying to figure out somebody's trade secrets, that's why you keep them secret. Keep it secret. Keep it safe. That kind of a deal. Gandalf didn't just say that to Frodo just for shits and giggles, that kind of a deal. He had to keep that one ring in that envelope. You couldn't just say, "Hey, look what I have." That regard. So yeah, no,
he wasn't the exhibitionist Bilbo was.
Yeah, exactly. You couldn't give that dude a ring. That movie would have been 43 seconds long if you would have given it.
And Mordor would have won.
Exactly.
Look what I got. Boom, it's over.
It's over. Oh my gosh.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how the Knicks fare this season now that all their secrets are out.
Watch a win 18 games or something like that.
Damn, we can't finish 5th in the East anymore. All went up in smoke.
Oh well.
Well, that ends episode 152, and I'm Jimmy Dean, and I got nothing left to say. If you have anything left to say, you feel free to say it now or forever hold your sausage.
Holding sausage.
I'm not even going to dignify
that. All right, then. All you have to do is wait for episode 153, and we will be back with more nonsense. Sounds like the debates.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening to us here at Two Noobs Talking. If you want more of Two Noobs on social media, we're here for you. You can find us by searching Two Noobs Talking on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Clapper. Have a great week, and we look forward to delivering another great episode to you next week. Take care.